Good evening and welcome to Mountain Bears. I'm Aeson, and with me tonight is Techie Joe. How are you, darling?
Doing well. I'm here. Guys, we love you, but I made some wrong choices this week, and I'm paying for them.
Yeah, you are. You're going to be okay.
I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I had a little spot removed at my dermatologist office, and I did not plan to be this exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
I really did not think it would be that big a deal.
Right.
Y'all, it has been Wipeout City for me.
Right.
So, yeah. So, anyway, we got a red alert. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Concerned. Excited. Questioning, if I should drop into anywhere. That type of thing.
Well, now, before you go into that, I do want to say you had your own week of, I don't know what's wrong with me.
I did.
Someone forgot a medication. He stocked his pill box, was ready for the week. He is rocking it, except he's like, God, I feel like crap. I don't know why I feel like crap. Finally, last night, he realizes, uh-oh. I forgot one of my pills in my pill box.
Yes.
And I was like, you did not. And it was...
Yeah, it was so he's got that pill. It was a small little heart.
It's my heart meds.
Nothing major. Nothing major.
Yeah. He realizes this as we get home from the Greasy Spoon Diner known as the Omelet Spot.
Known as my second office.
Your second office. Yes. Where he had his sunrise burger and onion rings.
Yeah.
Deep fried.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's an important pill, especially after that meal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness.
Here, let me fix that. There we
go.
Oh,
okay. Are you making it red? Is that
what can't, but I can do this.
Oh, okay.
There we are, our top story.
Yes, that is our top story. And that's from HRC. Human Rights Campaign. So for the first time ever, Human Rights Campaign officially declares state of emergency for LGBTQ plus Americans, issues national warning and guidebook to ensure safety for LGBTQ plus residents and travelers.
Yeah.
So anti-LGBTQ plus laws, know before you go, is their nice image slogan on this one. So yeah. Yeah, so HRC's first emergency ever declaration comes after more than 75 anti-LGBTQ plus bills signed into law this year, more than double the number from last year, creating an imminent threat to the health and safety of LGBTQ plus people and families nationwide. Today, the Human Rights Campaign, the nation's largest lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ plus civil rights organization, officially declared a state of emergency for LGBTQ plus people in the United States for the first time in its more than 40-year history, following an unprecedented and dangerous spike in anti-LGBTQ plus legislative assaults sweeping state houses this year. A new report released by HRC today, LGBTQ plus Americans Under Attack, details more than 75 anti-LGBTQ plus bills that have been signed into law this year alone, more than doubling last year's number, which was previously the worst year on record. The sharp rise in anti-LGBTQ plus measures has spawned a dizzying patchwork of discriminatory state laws that have created increasingly hostile and dangerous environments for LGBTQ plus people, prompting HRC today to also issue a national warning and downloadable guidebook for the LGBTQ plus community, including health and safety resources, a summary of state-by-state laws, know your rights information, and resources designed to support LGBTQ plus travelers, as well as those already living in hostile states. This guidebook will arm LGBTQ plus people with resources and information to help ensure safety in all 50 states. Oh, talk about a quote. This one goes on for a second, so buckle up, guys. Quote, LGBTQ plus Americans are living in a state of emergency. The multiplying millions in our community are not just perceived. They are real, tangible, and dangerous. In many cases, they are resulting in violence against LGBTQ plus people, forcing families to uproot their lives and flee their homes in search of safer states, and triggering a tidal wave of increased homophobia and transphobia that puts the safety of each and every one of us at risk. As we kick off LGBTQ plus Pride Month, HRC will be working tirelessly to educate and arm the LGBTQ plus community with information and resources to ensure their safety, whether they're planning summer travel through regions that are becoming increasingly hostile to LGBTQ plus people, or whether they already live in a state where legislative assaults and political extremism are continuing to put a target on our backs. Additionally, there is an imminent threat to the health and safety of millions of LGBTQ plus people and families who are living every day in uncertainty and fear. Our number one priority will always be ensuring that LGBTQ plus people are safe and have the tools they need to defend and protect themselves against acts of hostility, discrimination, and, in the most extreme cases, violence. It's also incumbent on our allies across the country to stand with us and make it clear that we won't sit idly by while extremists attack and malign LGBTQ plus people and our families. We'll fight tooth and nail to ensure the safety and dignity of every LGBTQ plus person is respected and protected without exception. And that's from Kelly Robertson, HRC president. So yeah, we've got a lot going on here. I figure this is a good time to scroll down and start unpacking like what we're talking about here.
Well, I think it is, but I also think it, if I can, all right, I'm going to have to do some finagling. Give me a minute. We'll see if I crash this.
Okay. Don't crash.
No, I'm using things I don't normally use to do things I don't normally do, but we're getting more advanced.
We are.
I hate when, they don't put graphics. They put flow charts, not graphics.
Oh, come on. Give me some graphics.
So anyway, you start digging. I'll start working.
All right. The 2023 state legislative session was the worst year on record for anti-LGBTQ plus legislation. More than 525 bills were introduced in 41 states. Over 220 of these bills explicitly targeted transgender people. Over 76 bills have been signed into law as of June 5th, 2023, more than any year on record and more than double over last year. Transgender, non-binary, and gender non-conforming youth in particular have been directly impacted by anti-LGBTQ plus legislation, losing access to life-saving medical care, comprehensive and inclusive education, and activity spaces and facility. So transgender sports bans, that's 21 states, 30% of high school age transgender youth, approximately 90,100 of the estimated 300,100 transgender youth aged 13 to 17 in the U.S. are living in states where they are unable to simply play alongside their friends. As these bills extend all the way down into kindergarten and in some states through college, many more transgender youth and young adults are impacted as well. Gender affirming care bans in 20 states. 30.9% of all transgender youth aged 13 to 17 are living in states where they can no longer access life saving best practices medical care. In some states, care has been banned not only for youth but adults as well, especially through bans on public funds going to provide this best practice healthcare. More than 30 states introduced gender affirming care bans during the 2023 legislative session, meaning that at its height, half of all transgender youth in the U.S. were at risk of losing access to gender affirming care. Let's please note, when we're talking about people 13 to 17, we are not, and I repeat, not talking about sexual reassignment surgery. Thank you very much. Please get it through your head. Bathroom bans in 9 states. 14.8% of transgender people aged 13 plus, over 243,000 of the 1.6 million transgender people in the U.S., live in states where they are unable to use bathrooms, locker rooms, and or facilities in accordance with their gender identity while in K-12 public school buildings, if not elsewhere. This includes 32,700 transgender youth nationwide, or 10.9% of all transgender youth aged 13 to 17. Over 110,000 transgender people aged 13 plus live in states where they are also banned from using bathrooms and facilities in some public settings and buildings outside of K-12 schools. So yeah, that's a lot going on.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. You know, they said 40 years, so that took me back to 83. That means that before, and we have to remember that the Human Rights Commission before that was ACTA.
Were they?
Yeah, I think they were. Because one left when the other came. All right, let's see if we get this shared properly.
All right.
Yeah. Share screen. And yes, here we go. What you guys are looking at?
Oh, so yeah, states in red are the Republican trifecta, meaning what is that? Their governor, House, and Senate are all led by Republicans, as
Yep.
in they are majority. Passing a bill is no big deal for Republicans. The states in blue, of course, are the Democratic trifecta, with all 3 controlled by Democrats. And states in gray are divided governments with neither a full majority of either. So no majority of either
Right.
in those states.
Right. And then we look at don't say gay laws, pronoun refusal laws, forced outing of student laws, anti-drug laws. There's a lot of problems here.
Yeah, and it's pretty much red states, of which West Virginia is one of those.
Yeah.
So yeah, as you look across the country, it's pretty much all the states you expect.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much all the states you expect.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is, we start looking at what I call safe states. We have Ohio, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
They have either nothing, Wyoming or they have. We basically want nose across. Yes, I said in the first 2, nose across the board. I was hoping for a graphic, but they just got us a big list here of which states, and where states are that. New Hampshire looks to be safe. Nevada. It's a nice state.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, the dogs. So, this is what we're looking with when planning and travel, and you need, this gets added to the lovely red binder so that,
It does.
we can decide whether, it's a safe state for Aeson to go to or not. It's a safe state to go on vacation or not. It's a safe state to have to travel through or not.
Mm-hmm.
Those will be the fun things. And, people ask why I don't travel a lot. Here's why. It takes a lot of fucking math for us to figure out the travel.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Though if you're thinking of visiting West Virginia, let's go ahead and do the rundown there.
Yes.
Oh, this is going to be fun. So let me do this in snapshots and then mix it together.
Okay.
I just realized a big part of the problem is going to be this graphic is a little hard to follow unless you can see the top of it at the same time you're looking down it.
Right.
So let me make that work for me real quick. And there we go. And there we go. Now I got it lined up. All right. So for West Virginia, we do not have a non-discrimination law. We do not have a conversion therapy ban. We do have gender affirming care ban. We do not have a bathroom ban. I don't know how. We have a sports participation ban. We do not have an LGBTQ plus erasure law. We don't have a don't say gay law. We don't have a pronoun refusal law. We do not have a forced student outing law, and we do not have an anti-drag ban.
Right.
So right now, actually, West Virginia is not looking horrific.
Right.
But it ain't looking great.
No.
So yeah, I'm trying to see if there are 2 no's and all yeses in this category, and it looks like the closest we come to that is Tennessee right now. In which they neither have the non-discrimination law nor a conversion therapy ban, but then they do have a gender affirming care ban, a bathroom ban, a sports participation ban, an LGBTQ plus erasure law. They don't have a don't say gay. They do have a pronoun refusal law, and they don't have a forced student outing law. And then they have an asterisk and a yes on anti-drag ban. And I think that's because their drag ban is currently they passed it, didn't they? And then it's already been challenged, and it's currently in
on a hold.
On a hold. Thank you. That's the best way to put that.
Yep. So print it, use it, keep it in your books. I'm going to go ahead and send the link to it.
Yes, please. Yeah. Now, it's a really nice guidebook. I just wish they had broken it up with the categories.
Yes.
So it's a little easier to.
Right. And there are.
Because it goes on to a page 2, and that's where it all breaks.
Right. There is help for moving expenses and whatnot if you need to move. Because you live in Florida. And you need to go to Nevada to get the care you need. Or Texas, and you need to move to Nevada to get the care you need, or to Denver to get the care you need.
Absolutely. So yeah, there are some resources in here to help you with that. As well as if you decide to stay, advice for how to try to reverse this, fight this, make the world a better place.
Right.
So yeah,
that, and I don't like reveling in something, but I think we need to talk about it.
Okay.
Happy Pride Month. God decided to deliver you into deliverance. Pat Roberts, the broadcaster who helped make religious-centered GOP's politics, dies at 93.
Or as I like to say, Happy Pride, Pat Robertson died. And I have legitimate reasons for that. I'm not personally celebrating the actual individual death of a human being, but given everything he has done,
Right.
I can be happy that he will never be able to do that again.
Yes.
Like, he has hit the end of his hate career.
Mm-hmm.
So, Pat Robertson, a religious broadcaster who turned a tiny Virginia station into the global Christian broadcasting network, tried to run for president and help make religion central to Republican Party politics in America through his Christian coalition, has died. He was 93. Robertson's death Thursday was confirmed in an email by his broadcasting network. No cause was given. Robertson's enterprises also included Regent University, an evangelical Christian school in Virginia Beach, the American Center for Law and Justice, which defends the First Amendment rights of religious people, and Operation Blessing, an international humanitarian organization. For more than half a century, Robertson was a familiar presence in American living rooms, known for his 700 Club television show, and in later years, his televised pronouncements of God's judgment, usually delivered with a smile as a gentle lament that blamed natural disasters on gays and feminists and accused Black Lives Matter demonstrators of being anti-Christian. Robertson was a happy warrior who was soft-spoken, urbane, and well-read, said Ralph Reed, who ran the Christian Coalition in the 1990s. He was not some backwoods preacher, Reed said. He was very enthralling, avuncular, and charming. He had a great sense of humor. The money poured in as he solicited donations, his influence soared, and he brought a huge following with him when he moved directly into politics by seeking the GOP presidential nomination in 1988. Robertson pioneered the now common strategy of courting Iowa's network of evangelical Christian churches and finished in second place in the Iowa caucus ahead of Vice President George H.W. Bush. His masterstroke was insisting that 3 million followers across the U.S. signed petitions before he would decide to run. Robertson biographer Jeffrey K. Haddon said, the tactic gave him an army. He asked people to pledge that they'd work for him, pray for him, and give him money. Haddon, a University of Virginia sociologist, told the Associated Press in 1988, political historians may view it as one of the most ingenious things a candidate ever did. Robertson later endorsed Bush, who won the presidency. Pursuit of Iowa's evangelicals is now a ritual for Republicans, hopefuls, including those currently seeking the White House in 2024. Robertson started the Christian Coalition in Chesapeake in 1989, saying it would further his campaign's ideals. The coalition became a major political force in the 90s, mobilizing conservative voters through grassroots activities. By the time of his resignation as the coalition's president in 2001, Robertson said he wanted to concentrate on ministerial work. His impact on, I swear to God, if the ads don't quit reloading on this page, his impact on both religion and politics in the U.S. was enormous, according to John C. Green, an emeritus political science professor at the University of Akron. Many follow the path Robertson cut in religious broadcasting, Green told the AP in 2021. In American politics, Robertson helped cement the alliance between conservative Christians and the Republican Party. Marion Gordon Pat Robertson was born March 22nd, 1930 in Lexington, Virginia, to Abelsom Willis Robertson and Gladys Churchill Robertson. His father served for 36 years as a U.S. Representative and U.S. Senator from Virginia. After graduating from Washington and Lee University, he served as assistant adjunct to the 1st Marine Division in Korea. He received a law degree from Yale Law School, but failed the bar exam and chose not to pursue a law career. Robertson met his wife, Adelia Dede Elmer, at Yale in 1952. He was a Southern Baptist. She was a Catholic, earning a master's in nursing. 18 months later, they ran off to be married by a justice of the peace, knowing neither family would approve. Robertson was interested in politics until he found religion, Dee Dee Robertson told the AP in 1987. He stunned her by pouring out their liquor, tearing a nude print off the wall, and declaring he had found the Lord. They moved into a commune in New York City's Bedford-Stuyvesant neighborhood because Robertson said God told him to sell all his possessions and minister to the poor. She was tempted to return home to Ohio, but I realized that was not what the Lord would have me do. I had promised to stay, so I did, she told the AP. Robertson received a master's in divinity from New York Theological Seminary in 1959, then drove south with his family to buy a bankrupt UHF television station in Portsmouth, Virginia. He said he had just $70 in his pocket, but soon found investors, and CBN went on the air on October 1st, 1961. Established as a tax-exempt religious nonprofit, CBN brought in hundreds of millions, disclosing $321 million in ministry support in 2022 alone. One of Robertson's innovations was to use the secular talk show format on the network's flagship show, The 700 Club, which grew out of a telethon when Robertson asked 700 viewers for monthly $10 contributions. It was more suited to television than traditional revival meetings or church services and gained a huge audience. Well, that's enough of calling him decent.
Yeah, he's also blamed, the gays, the feminists, the Democrats for 9/11.
Here we go. After a devastating earthquake in 2010, he said Haitians were cursed by a pact with the devil made by the slaves who rebelled against French colonists centuries earlier. And in 2020, he spoke out against the Black Lives Matter movement, saying it wants to destroy Christianity. Of course, Black Lives Matter, Robertson said, but the movement is a stalking horse for a very, very radical anti-family, anti-God agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Robertson also claimed that the terrorist attacks that killed thousands of Americans on September 11th, 2001 were caused by God, angered by the federal courts, pornography, abortion rights, and church-state separation. Talking again about 9/11 on his TV show a year later, Robertson described Islam as a violent religion that wants to dominate and destroy, promoting President George W. Bush to distance himself and say Islam is a peaceful and respectful religion. Ooh. He called for the assassination of Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez in 2005, although he later apologized. I mean, I give this article credit. They've top-loaded it with all, anything reasonably decent he did. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of the article is apparently everything.
Right.
And it goes on for a while.
Yeah, I'm checking to see if his other crony is dead.
Well, we lost Charles Stanley in April.
Yeah. Jerry Falwell is dead.
Oh, yeah, Jerry Falwell's been dead for a while.
Yeah. Jerry Falwell Jr. is in the middle of being cuckolded for everyone that has waltzed the beat on that one. Still occurring.
Well, I mean, he's definitely paying for, or was paying, I don't know where that's at, but was paying for a boyfriend for his wife, but maybe also for him. No one's real clear. He did get thrown out of his namesake church. Because apparently him and his wife are quite inappropriate. We've really seen the mighty fall. Of course, now and then Robertson, I know for at least the last 10 years, everyone's been trying to figure out how bad his dementia was.
Right.
Because he's had quite a few on-air moments that were, what the hell is he talking about? He's off his rocker.
Right.
Not in a, he's being very hateful and angry and we don't know what his problem is. People legitimately did not know what the hell he's talking about because now it's just Which I find sad because they kept him on air even though that got progressively worse.
Right.
That he's just over there like sputtering shit.
Well,
And
they had to get those Social Security checks turned in.
Got to make the money. He is the money maker.
Right. So, we were debating, on who should be next.
Oh, who's left? I
Well,
mean, we've got Joel Osteen, who I like personally would just appreciate
right.
something horrible happening to. Just because horrible things happen to other people and Joel Osteen collects money and then walks away. It's kind of his thing. But that's not really an anti-gay per se.
Right.
Like he's just shows up there.
Right.
He just kind of nods along. As long as you keep sending him money, he'll pretty much nod along with anything. That's been his MO for his career.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure. Well, David McSavage is on my list.
Okay, and that's the head of the LDS Church, correct?
Yeah, that is the
Scientology. Excuse me, Scientology.
Yes.
Sorry, didn't mean to bring the LDSers into this.
The LDS is kind of like you have their day in court. Because there's not a big problem with the standard LDS. There is a problem with what is his name? Oh, he's the one that had 400 fucking wives.
I'm drawing a blank.
S. Jailed. Because he's actually not the leader of the LDS. Oh, Jeff Warren.
Oh, yeah. Still, he's all about getting it, not really giving the hate. Well, I mean, he's too busy. 400 wives. He's really busy.
Right. And see, here's the problem, though. He's even breaking his own teachings.
Oh, wrong cult, fundamental LDS.
Yeah, he is fundamental LDS. But no, he's breaking his own teachings because the teachings is you can have as many wives that you can afford.
Oh, well. And most of them are government support, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
See, that's a big thing that gets left out of that translation of that scripture is it's the number of wives you can afford.
I'm just curious. Oh, we do have what's his hate face that popped up like a couple of years ago. Okay. The youngish guy. Like he's probably 40s.
Oh, Tennessee pastor.
40s. I'm trying to remember. Oh, where is he? Stephen Anderson.
Okay.
The pastor from Arizona. He does YouTube sermons. I think he was the pastor and founder of the Faithful Word Baptist Church.
Yeah.
A fundamentalist independent Baptist church.
Yes.
He's currently banned from Ireland, the Netherlands, Jamaica, South Africa, and the UK. Though granted, I'm on a site I don't know that I want to be on.
Yeah.
Which is Arab News. I'm going to run away now. I feel like I'm in the wrong place.
Well, I'm over on Wikipedia, and he is banned from a lot of places.
I just could not think of his name.
I know, but there's one. He's younger. Stephen Anderson is younger. I'm talking about the Tennessee pastor that called for our death.
Oh, this looks like a fun article from April 9th. The rise of the viral hate preacher. How social media is giving hate preachers a global platform. I mean, Not that the Christian Broadcasting Network didn't get there first.
Right.
But yeah, this is from medium.com.
Right.
So once upon a time, hate preachers from the radical fringe of evangelical Christianity were confined to the darkened corners of society. These wannabe prophets of doom existed in small churches with small pulpits, preaching to small audiences who welcomed their small-minded bigotry and hatred. Their damaging rhetoric was, for the most part, confined, and mercifully so, within the four walls of their cult-like spiritual ghettos.
Right.
They, yeah. So this looks like the beginning of a great read.
Right.
We'll send that out to you guys here in a minute. If you're wanting more on hate pastors. But I was just curious if this article goes into some of them. Seems like a lot of things are going wrong with the Baptist church.
Yep. There's always things going wrong with Baptist church.
Yeah, like there's Duncan Urbanic with Pure Words Baptist Church. Greg Locke. How could we forget Greg Locke?
That's who I was talking about.
There you go.
You know.
There was Steven Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
Like these, and it's getting harder. Can I point this out to remember them? Because they're becoming this like hate pastor of the month club. All right.
Right.
Well, here's one I had missed.
Mm-hmm.
Nathaniel Jolly runs a tiny church in Alaska called Homer Reformed Baptist Church. Baptist again. Where he would be lucky to preach the word of God to a few dozen people on an average Sunday morning. However, his 14,000 Twitter followers certainly seem to lap up his anti-LGBTQ rhetoric. Here's a lovely post from him. There is a growing trend of claiming to be LGBTQ and a Christian. Let's be crystal clear. Not a single person who identifies as LGBTQ will enter the kingdom of heaven unless they repent of their sin and believe in Christ. They will perish. That's from October 13th, 2022, and Nathaniel Jolly.
Well, I throw back at him one of my favorite scriptures. Well, two favorites. One says, give up all your worldly goods to follow the Lord. The other one is, it is easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than a rich man to enter into heaven, and you're both.
Well, there you go. Oh, and if you want more reasons to dislike him, another lovely Twitter post. An appropriate pulpit ministry for women. If a woman wants to serve from the pulpit, let it be as the woman who wiped Jesus' feet with her tears. Let her weep over the word and prayer that will be preached by a qualified man as she wipes clean the pulpit for his use.
Well, actually, that is against scripture also. Boy, is it bad that the witch knows the Bible better than fucking minister does? Like, fuck, do I need to, get my collar and go back to work?
Well, Hemant Mehta, who is not a hate pastor by any means, he is actually a very wonderful exposer of such, has this to say on Twitter. Christian hate preacher Duncan Urbanic explained how he prays for gay people.
Right.
Quote, and there is a transcript from Friendly Atheist. I don't care which way you do it, Lord. Just kill them right now. Break their teeth in their mouth. Let them have a slow, painful death. And that was Duncan Urbanic in his Pure Words streaming televangelism. Which, let's call it that. It's streaming televangelism. This is all the crap like you used to flip around the dial on Sunday mornings because God let there be something else on.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Okay, see, that was my moment every Sunday morning. Like, please let there be something else on than televangelist on every station.
Well, every Sunday morning I was normally either A, in adulthood, recovering from Saturday night, B, in teenage years, already there in front of it, going, all
Well,
right, let's see if we can get this production on.
well, see, no. I I had this lovely point in my teenage years where I was a Wednesday Baptist and a Sunday Methodist, and let me tell you, that'll screw with your head. And so by Sunday morning, knowing that in a few short hours,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be set up in a pew at a Methodist church, which was quite cool, by the way. I think that's why I didn't turn out as screwed up as I could have been. So I will give the Methodist that. Like, thank you for the for the little bit of mental salvation I had there. Um, but no, Sunday morning before all of that, it was literally at one point like Charles Stanley on one channel, Pat Robertson on the next, and you just kept trying to flip through. Like, please let there be something else.
Mm-hmm.
Please let me watch something else this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's got to be a different program on somewhere because you would flip through like on cable, on satellite, on literally flip the rotary dial,
Mm-hmm.
and Sunday morning televangelism
Okay.
as far as the eye could see in the 90s.
Yeah.
I think the thing I hated the most in college, and you love her, you actually do appreciate her. Um, and you'll have to help me with her name. She was big when I was in
Joyce.
college, and yeah, Joyce Meyer.
Now, I will explain why I like Joyce Meyer.
Okay, let me let you do that first, and I'll explain why I don't like her.
Okay. I like Joyce Meyer for two reasons. One, she knows her shit. When I mean that, she knows her shit. She knows her book, she knows her Bible, she knows her messaging, she knows everything there. She does not misquote the scripture 95% of the time. So either she has a good PA or she knows her shit. Now, people think, oh, Aeson's out is mad at Christians. No, I'm not mad at Christians. I'm mad at bad Christians.
You're mad at hate preachers. You're mad at
Yes.
people that are calling for our death, calling for our harm,
Mm-hmm.
all to extend a political agenda.
Right.
Like
But
they don't actually care that we exist, and hell, half of them are going to be found, doing coke off some underage boy's ass at some point. We know it. We
right,
know it's coming. We
right.
know it.
You know. And the reason I like Joyce is she came up the right way, meaning she built her ministry from the back of a station wagon, like most pastors should. She will be seen in Africa handing out food. She will be seen in like she was one of the first evangelicals to hit the grounds of Hades, and she didn't hit them in front of the pulpit. She hit them at the food stand.
Mhm.
She walks her talk. Her husband is a different story. The husbands are husbands. But Joyce herself walks her talk, and she was one of the first ones to start embracing empowering women in the church
Mhm.
and taking a sign of the times and recognizing that ladies have a position in the home, in the partnership, in the marriage, and in the church. And if your husband is not doing it, then divorce his ass after you've prayed for him and tried your best to get conviction. That doesn't work. Move forward. Take care of yourself. Those are the reasons why I like Joyce Myers.
Mhm.
Is she is one of the few big pastors out there that will do it.
Mhm.
Okay, that pushes. You're enough. One good rule for happy marriage. You can say no to strife. She's not a prosperity pastor. She's not. She's one of those that's like, no, we're going to do both. We're going to do it all.
Mhm.
That's where I'm. That's why when there comes to a point of interfaith, I could work with her.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. My problem goes back to college
Uh-huh.
and our little cafeteria. It
Mm-hmm.
was not all that little, but it was a cafeteria.
Right.
Um, had televisions.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what employee did this, nor if they ever stopped to think,
Right.
but they would tune every single channel. And I do not know what channel she was on.
Everyone.
What? No?
She used to be simulcast on TBS, USA, and CBS every
For like
Sunday morning.
hours a day, just sermon after
Yeah.
sermon after sermon
I
after
was on
sermon.
at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was my experience, was every single day
Right.
trying to go get breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to start my day.
Right.
Not only is she on every television, they have turned every television up as loud as it will possibly go.
Mm-hmm. So they can hear it in the back.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yep. In an atrium.
Right.
Because that was the physical structure of our cafeteria, was this giant 2-floor atrium
Right.
with giant sound bouncing glass.
Right.
With her at full volume.
Right.
And I noticed one thing about Joyce Meyer in all that time. She sounded like radio host Delilah.
Yes.
I swear they are the same human being.
Right.
I can't stand Delilah. I will listen to some Delilah. I really truly will. Especially early 2000s Delilah. I really will. Because there was that long funny period where everyone kept requesting Because of You
Mm-hmm.
as a loving message to their mamas.
Mm-hmm.
And I will sit and listen to that all night long.
Right.
Because there was a very long period before anyone caught on.
Right.
That is the biggest insult to your mother.
Right.
You could have ever done. And
Right.
people legitimately somehow listened to this song.
Right.
And thought it was a good thing. That's the only Delilah I will listen to, though. Like, once she stopped doing that, like, she finally got a hold of the concept and quit playing that request.
Right.
I was done with Delilah.
Oh, I've been done with Delilah forever. I miss Casey Kasem.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah. Well, that's back a few years.
Well, excuse me.
Well, no, he used to be good. I love that show.
Yeah.
Right till he got to the end where he was too sick to be working.
Right.
That was the point I had problems, when it looked like he was basically an animatronic that they rolled out once a week.
Yeah, but I also miss the shock jocks, like the real late night radio host.
See, I never got into shock jocks. My dad was all into like Howard Stern.
He's minor. I'm talking like Wolfman Jack, real DJs.
Oh yeah.
And then, of course, if it's late night in this house, and it was AM radio, it was Art Bell.
Well, there you go. Yeah. See, I don't think I've listened other than some of the things you've sent me. Mm-hmm. I never originally organically found Art Bell.
Well, of course, that's because
I knew he existed.
AM radio existed.
Do what now?
You don't know AM radio exists.
Yes, I do. What the hell?
What is that nun?
Mother Teresa.
No.
Okay. She's a nun.
She is a nun.
Okay, so Shannon says my mom would watch those guys. If I refused to go to church, I was allowed to watch them, nothing else. So I went to Mama's house and she gave me the remote and told me to watch what I want. Mom said, no, let's call Grandma. I am down for some of that.
Yeah, it's ET. The other one that I actually will listen to on the radio is Mother Mary Angelina.
Okay.
She's the founder of the Catholic Broadcasting Network. She's funny as hell. Okay.
Oh, wait a second. Is that like I may know exactly who you're talking about? Didn't she get televised for a little while too?
She owns her own television station, yes.
Yeah, and she would always do this. Like she's just sitting there. She's just this little old nun, and she
Uh-huh.
starts talking. Okay, she's funny. She's
She's
funny. Okay, funny.
hilarious. She
She's funny.
started her. Was armed with only $200 and 12 of her closest nuns with no TV in the background. Mother turned uh, the monasterial garage into a television studio in 1981. EWTN went to the air for the country for the first time as a Catholic satellite television station. Mother became a television star, hosting popular and still running shows like Mother Angelique Live.
Okay. See, I never knew her name, but every once in a while I'd flip past,
Mhm.
catch her, and like watch her long enough to laugh at something, and then she'd get serious for a little bit, and I'd flip the channel when she got serious.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
she could tell a
that's the
story.
one.
The woman
Yeah,
could tell a
it's like
story.
just take a board to me.
Like she could tell a story though. She was great.
She can tell a story, but she has clear opinions, even if she doesn't have one. She has clear opinions on husbands,
Mm.
clear opinions about, exactly the length of board you should use to discipline your husband.
I'm sure that was a lovely moment.
You know, so
there
there
had
are.
th- there had to be a pope going, can someone shut her up?
Oh, I think that was John Paul.
Like someone shut her up.
Like, I am fully in full belief that John Paul really wanted her just to go somewhere. Like, take the
Mm.
camera out of my face and, go over there, sister, and feed the poor. And she's like, I'll feed the poor and whip your ass.
Fair enough.
All right.
Oh, so
Momo owned
continue.
the holler and wasn't telling her not to let me watch anything if she thought mom was being unreasonable.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of when mom says no, call grandma. Hey, Brenda. But no, I'm used to that one. Like my grandmother had that relationship with her grandmother because my great grandmother was apparently quite the devout Pentecostal who was afraid everything was a sin, and to protect the souls of her children, grandchildren, and everyone else she ever met, was quite the no woman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you'll go to hell. You can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. So she would call her grandmother and go over and listen to the radio and dance because all of that was a sin. Listening to the radio was a sin. Dancing was a sin. You name it, it was a sin with this woman.
See, I don't get that one. Okay, coming from a Pentecostal background, dancing. Well, you're supposed to dancing in church isn't a sin. Dancing, at home may have been a sin at the time, depending on the dancing.
Just like little kids listening to a radio, and like this isn't even dancing, it's no coordinated movement. I cannot believe my grandmother was ever like a solid gold dancer.
Oh,
I cannot imagine that woman had that skill.
I think she could have cut a rug.
Like I'm pretty sure it was just happy little girl dancing around because there's music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that being a problem.
Like, really?
Really. Hello, Miss Brenda. How are you? What you drinking? All right. So let's go into our next serving of tea.
Oh my goodness, where are we now?
Trump.
So Donald Trump indicted on 7 counts in classified documents probe.
Okay.
Former President Donald Trump has been indicted on 7 counts in the special counsel's classified documents probe, a stunning development that marks the first time a former president has faced federal charges. Trump is facing a charge under the Espionage Act, his attorney Jim Trusty said on CNN Thursday, as well as charges of obstruction of justice, destruction or falsification of records, conspiracy, and false statements. The special counsel has been investigating Trump's handling of classified documents that were brought to his Mar-a-Lago, Florida resort after he left the White House in 2021, as well as possible obstruction of the investigation and government efforts to retrieve the material. The former president wrote on Truth Social that he had been informed by the Justice Department that he was indicted and he was summoned to appear at the federal courthouse in Miami on Tuesday at 3 p.m. The corrupt Biden administration has informed my attorneys that I have been indicted seemingly over the boxes hoax, Trump wrote. Trusty told CNN's Trusty attorney. Seriously, you picked an attorney whose last name is Trusty just for this purpose, I know. Trusty told CNN's Caitlin Collins that Trump's attorneys received a summons via email from the Justice Department Thursday listing the charges, but I haven't seen the indictment yet. He called the Espionage Act charge ludicrous. In a sign of how tightly held the special counsel kept word of the indictment, the U.S. Secret Service and U.S. Marshals did not get advance notice and were surprised by Trump's announcement on social media, law enforcement officials said Thursday. Law enforcement is now scrambling to prepare for the expected court appearance next week in Miami, and the Justice Department is moving additional resources there, officials said. The special counsel and the Justice Department did not make any public statements Thursday, and a spokesman declined comment. The federal indictment is the second time that Trump has been charged criminally this year. In April, the Manhattan District Attorney charged Trump with 34 counts of falsifying business. I'm assuming a falsifying business or a falsifying business records. Don't know. But the indictment from the special counsel marks a new and more perilous legal phase for a former president who is running for president again in 2024 while facing criminal charges in 2 jurisdictions and with 2 additional investigations into his conduct still underway. The charges against Trump come out just 7 months since Attorney General Merrick Garland appointed Jack Smith as a special counsel after Trump announced he was running for president in order to keep the investigation independent from the Biden Justice Department. Now Trump will face federal charges from the special counsel at the same time that he is trying to unseat President Joe Biden in next year's presidential election. The White House declined to comment Thursday evening.
See, I'm wondering if he's legally allowed to run for president if he's being indicted for spying. That's what he's being indicted for.
I think it's fine as long as he is not convicted.
Well, how fast can we get a conviction done in Florida? I mean, I know they take fucking forever. We saw that with Casey Anthony's trial.
Because literally the only requirements for president is be at least 35 years old, have been a resident of the United States for 14 years, and be a natural born citizen of the United States.
Yeah, but there's something that, anyway, so we got 37 charges there. And in New York, he's got how many?
Well, yeah, there's 7, and then there's 34 right now, and then God only knows what else is going on.
Well, see, they unsealed the 37, and then there's 4. And then I know he's been charged for sexual assault in New York also. I'm just wondering who has more charges against them currently.
Okay.
If Donald Trump or, oh God, what is his name? The lawyer that killed his wife and son in North Carolina.
Oh, I'm sure that's Trump.
Yeah, because the dude was up to 102 the last I checked. So.
Ooh. All right, so let's see. I was trying to see, because we found a counter at one point that basically was like, how many lawsuits is the former president? Oh, yeah, 37 accounts, was indicted on 37 counts over classified documents. There are 31 counts of willful retention of national defense information, 30 counts of withholding or concealing documents in a federal investigation, 2 counts of false statements, and 1 count of conspiracy to obstruct justice. I'm looking to
Give me that
see.
numbers again.
Oh, run those numbers again.
Yeah.
31 counts willful retention of national defense information.
Mm-hmm.
So that's related to Trump's alleged unauthorized possession of national defense documents and his failure to turn them over to law enforcement officials.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are 3 counts of withholding or concealing documents in a federal investigation. That's
Mm-hmm.
related to Trump and an aide allegedly concealing boxes of classified documents from law enforcement officials and the grand jury.
Mm-hmm.
2 counts of false statements, and that's related to false statements about classified documents being turned over to law enforcement and an alleged scheme to hide Trump's continued possession of the materials.
Mm-hmm.
And then 1 count of conspiracy to obstruct justice related to an alleged conspiracy between Trump and an aide to
Mm-hmm.
keep classified documents Trump took from the White House.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So that's 31 Espionage Act charges.
37.
Ouch. No. The Espionage Act specifically, there are 31 charges.
Right.
Everything else is stacked on top of that.
Right. So that's 37. And I'm trying to see how many charges he had on January 6th, because he's still got those charges coming.
All right. CNN also has a Donald Trump's criminal cases explained.
Yeah.
All right, so Trump was indicted back in March by the Manhattan District Attorney on state charges related to hush money payments to a former adult film star in 2016.
Okay. 38.
That's 30 counts.
So he has 30 more counts there?
Yeah, there's 30 counts related to business fraud.
Okay. So we're up to 67, y'all.
Mm-hmm. They still haven't charged him for January 6th.
Right. That will be here soon.
Okay, looks like Trump does not have more charges than, at least right now.
Right.
He doesn't have more charges than that lawyer.
Right.
Oh, here's a fun question from CNN Politics. If Trump is jailed, would the Secret Service go with him?
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten this question multiple times, but it seems too premature and unprecedented as to be answerable at the moment. Let's let the legal process play out. Clearly, the Secret Service is responsible for the former president's safety, even if that is in jail.
Yeah.
There's a scary thought.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, even if Trump technically goes to jail, like he goes through the, like he's convicted of something, anything,
Mm-hmm.
in the currently 60 some charges against him.
Mm-hmm.
If he manages to get prison time, which unlikely,
right?
But if he manages that and goes to prison,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone's going to be really satisfied with that. Because I doubt that it's going to be really all that bad.
Well, here's the question, though, and I do believe, see, Congress can remove that.
Okay.
Like, Congress can remove his Secret Service, Congress can remove his pension. It all has to go through a vote, but it can occur.
Can occur, but unlikely.
Yeah, but come on. If he's in a clear cell stuck in the middle of nowhere, it'll be interesting. Let's just say this is unprecedented times, shall we say. Never in our history has a former president been charged with so many criminal cases that he's guilty of. There are pictures of it.
Do what now?
There are pictures, like in the indictment, there are photos of Mar-a-Lago with boxes and boxes and boxes of crap.
Classified materials.
Yeah.
Like it was a moment. It was a moment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like it's interesting, I will say, that for a former president who, in his path to the White House, demonized literally anyone and everyone he could, especially Hillary Clinton, for her email handling, which literally went through so many damn hearings.
Which she set for.
Which she set for, and hours of testimony.
Yes.
That no one could actually pin anything on her.
Right.
Because while what she did wasn't really preferred, she technically broke no laws doing it, which is a credit to her as a lawyer for very carefully walking a very thin line that no one even knew existed.
Right.
Honestly, until someone made a point about it, no one knew this existed.
Right.
And I don't mean her email handling. I mean the fact that what she was doing could have implications.
Right.
Like we really hadn't thought it through. Sort
well,
of like,
you gotta remember, until President Obama, the White House didn't have email. That's scary.
Well, and he was the first president to carry a cell phone.
Right.
I mean, that, well, granted, it was a BlackBerry, and then BlackBerry died.
True.
He also jokes about the fact that when his BlackBerry died, they basically gave him a pretend phone.
Right.
Because it had been stripped of everything.
Right.
Like the president can't have apps. The president can't have games. The president can't have.
Well, it's like they had to like specially have. What is that company? All right, it is the cycling company that's real big right now. They had Peloton.
A Peloton. Well, that was a bigger issue for Joe Biden.
Yeah, because
he is
a Peloton fanatic.
Oh, and yeah, he loves his.
Yeah.
But they had to do all kinds of things.
Yeah.
To make that possible. Because there were so many things that could go wrong with that. Because no one thought, because welcome to the Internet of Things, we don't really think about device security in terms of a Peloton in the White House.
Right.
We think of a Peloton in a suburban household of someone who cares.
Right.
So with the Peloton itself, it is an internet-enabled device that has a video screen and does all kinds of things. You could potentially kill a president with it. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not saying like our president, like Joe Biden, is unhealthy. I'm meaning you could kill anyone with it.
Right.
If you gave it, bad code, and effectively you run him into a heart attack,
right,
or you throw him off of it violently,
right,
because again you've cranked it to 100, and whoop, goes the president, one way or the other. So it was a serious concern that a lot of things could go wrong. Additionally, it's internet, and the portions of it that are internet connected could, and the service it connects to, could be used as a backdoor into the White House network.
Right.
Which is a scary concern.
Well, yeah, a very scary concern.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but
give them a jitterbug cell phone, says Brenda.
Basically.
That's basically what President Obama got, was like one of the really, like, they took a smartphone, stripped it down to everything that was considered nationally secure, and turned him loose. And then we have Trump come along.
Right. who wanted to install and pitched a reality White House.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I'd forgotten that.
Pitched, everyone. Pitched, meaning went to the networks and said, we can do reality TV right from the White House.
I'm sure there was a security person in that room whose head exploded.
But
just instantaneously, like blood and guts everywhere.
Yeah.
Like just at the idea of how many security problems that is.
Yeah.
Like, meanwhile, what kind of show do you think you're going to have if, like, every 3 seconds you get like 3 seconds that is usable, and then the rest of it has to be redacted for national security?
Right.
Because he's getting a briefing, he's getting he's being told about a situation in a country that literally no one knows anything about.
Right.
You know, no, you cannot do a presidential reality TV show.
Right. You know, like, what planet did this person think that this was a good idea? And then, you know, I don't know. I think that everyone should have to take a competency test if you are going to serve in the government. I don't care if you're the dog catcher. We need a competency test on you.
You know, it's starting to become more of a thing. Like, now that we are electing, we are not, forget electing. I think for many years we've elected presidents in a popularity contest ever since they went on television.
Right.
But at least we had what felt like, I don't know, the self-awareness to not think you were presidential material. You know what I mean? Like, self-awareness to go, I don't think I should be president.
Right.
I don't think I have the skills to do this.
Right.
I don't think this is a good choice for the nation or for myself. And so a lot of people didn't run. And there were a very small number of people that went, I think I can do this.
Yeah.
I think I can do this. And then they ran a popularity contest.
Mm-hmm.
And then we elected a president from a group of people that did not have reality television shows.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the closest we got with that was Reagan.
Right, who was a movie star.
Yeah, and basically the minute he entered the race, I think we should have all known it was over.
Right.
Like, you know, little Ronnie Reagan is now running for president. It's over. Just announce it. Like, stop campaigning.
Yeah.
Stop the debates. Just put him in the White House. We'll deal with it for 4 to 8 years.
Right. And, you know, Mrs. Reagan done a wonderful job being president.
True.
You know, let's be honest.
Because there's a lot of questions about his you know, last years in the White House.
You know, and they had a very qualified astrologer to help run the presidency. So, you know, I'm not too upset with the Reagan presidency.
Mm-hmm.
The trigonometrics was a little bit stupid. I'm just glad that they didn't take it a little bit too far.
And persistent.
Yeah.
Like, we're still trying to run trickle-down economics today.
Right.
Like, we have had more experience than I've basically been alive with trickle-down economics, and we still haven't gotten the fundamental lesson. It doesn't work. You give multi-millionaires and billionaires tax breaks, and they take a vacation, buy a second yacht or home, and none of this money
goes back to
leaves them.
Right. Okay, so let's just go right on into Are You an Asshole?
Aw, we had some other really good stories, and we have one breaking one.
All right, let's go for the ones that we didn't cover. Sorry, I thought we covered them.
Oh, no. Well, because I know we've got I guess it is just Louisiana that's left.
Yes.
Yeah, that's its biggest one.
Yeah.
Our biggest one. So breaking, Louisiana Senate Health and Welfare Committee kills bans on gender-affirming care. So you will not have bans on gender affirming care in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
So Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Today, the Human Rights Campaign, the nation's largest lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ plus civil rights organization, thanks members of the Louisiana Senate Health and Welfare Committee for voting to involuntarily defer HB 648, a dangerous attack on age-appropriate best practice healthcare for transgender youth. HB 648 would have banned physicians from providing age-appropriate best practice healthcare for transgender minors under the age of 18. This bill contradicts guidelines recommended by every major medical association, including the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Medical Association, and more, because gender-affirming care saves lives.
Right. The Senate is currently considering two additional anti-LGBT bills: Don't Say Gay Bill, HB 466, and Pronoun Restrictions Bill, HB 881. HB 466 would block teachers from talking about LGBT issues or people, further stimulating segregating, right, and isolating gay children. HB 66, Don't Say Gay Bill, would silence educators and ban instructions in discussion on sexual orientation or gender identity during any extreme athletic or academics and social activities, grades K through 12. This would ban school employees and other presenters from discussing their own sexual orientation or gender identity. HB 81 would allow children to forcibly out and inquire intentionally misgender trans and non-binary children. So the fight is still on, but this is one I actually watched live. Thank you, TikTok, for broadcasting it. And they ban a lot of this shit. Like one of the senators down there. Now, normally Louisiana, you have New Orleans, so that normally keeps you out of my target range because I do like New Orleans. But you got some smart senators down there that said, let parents make the choice. Leave it to doctors and physicians, and we have licensings and insurers to handle this. And also stated that there hadn't been sexual reassignment surgery of anyone under the age of 18 in the U.S. since 2017, if not before, but the study only covered 17 to 21.
Mm-hmm. Well, and technically that's for trans kids. Now there is a horrible medical practice, which talk about an argument with the medical community that has mostly changed, of sexually reassigning children with ambiguous genitalia due to genetic mosaicism. That was a long-standing medical practice in the U.S. and was an absolute disaster. But I will say, for the benefits of, or for all the harm caused to mosaic children, it does benefit those who are trans in the lessons learned from mosaic children about the nature of gender within the brain. Despite the body and anything that doctors were doing to alter the body to remove any ambiguity. And let's be real clear, we're talking about children who were born that were genetically indeterminate. That were potentially physically presenting of both, as in they may have like an ovary and a testicle, both in position of an ovary, and or anything else going on. And I'm trying to keep it PG as I can. Doctors would reassign these children. Typically by reassigning them female, because that was generally the least problematic route. Parents were told to take their sexually reassigned child home, raise them as a girl, treat them as a girl, name them as a girl, and never tell them the truth.
Right.
Or at least not until an age in which, it was part of their necessary medical information.
Right.
So, in addition to lying to these children for decades, potentially, or almost 2 decades, many of these kids often grew up, some adapted, some ended up gender non-binary, some ended up very regretful of their parents' decisions and often struggled to move forward.
Right.
Often to disastrous, unaliving results. A lot of this informs how we approach children today. Out of this nightmare that Mosaic children went through. So I always like to bring that up and point out that we it's not that we've never sexually reassigned children.
Right.
We've done it.
Yeah. It doesn't work well.
It does not work well if you do not go through and make sure that, like, taking choice away has disastrous results.
Right. And see, and that's the bigger problem here. Is, land of the free, home of the brave. Well, I'm still waiting for the fucking freedom. Dad's dead. Been dead. Sitting over here right behind us, he's the other host that no one sees. But he wasn't.
See him, he doesn't say much.
Yeah, he doesn't say much. But, he was not great as a young father. But he always pushed choice. You make your decisions. You make your things. And I think that is a value that we as a society keep looking for the government to go, oh, we don't need to parent the adults or the adults that have children because it's their own adult choice.
Well, but we do need to have respect, at least, for the fact that some children are going to have a disagreement with their parents.
Right.
Regarding, how they experience gender in themselves. And we do need to protect those kids.
Right.
From parents who want to make choices that have long-lasting consequence for them.
Right. But that's what I'm saying, though, is that it needs to be the child's choice. It needs to be the child's informed education. And, we're already behind in science, math, reading, arithmetic. And yes, arithmetic and math are different among the grades, among the world. And we're going to dumb our students down even more by restricting their social studies, by restricting their history. I mean, what are they going to talk about the 80s? Oh, hair was bad, and music was terrible, and the economy was bad. Come the hell on.
Well, and talk about a period of gender non-binary of the masses.
Oh, yeah.
So what? The 80s. Like, I'm sorry, it's really hard to get through the 80s without saying the words gender non-binary.
Right.
At least as we know that now.
Right.
Because it was a very gender ambiguous period.
Right. And
like, try to spot the difference. Try to spot the difference.
Right.
Like, try telling the difference between men and women in the 80s.
Yeah.
Big hair, makeup, lots of baggy layers.
Bad clothing. Everyone had tatties.
Pink was universal.
Yep.
Like, everything was a little different.
Extra.
Yeah, it was a lot extra. It was a lot of extra. A lot of makeup, a lot of piercings, a lot of everything. I don't know how you get through the 80s, let alone skip the entirety of HIV/AIDS.
Right.
Which is really critical information.
Right.
But no, like you cannot do 80s history.
Right.
At all.
Yeah.
Like
and then you're going to have, like, I don't know, the increase of suicide, the increase of teenage pregnancy. If you're not teaching sexual health, you know, it's like, at what cost are you morons willing to put the children that you decided not to have at? I mean, you won't adopt them. You won't, you know, you're probably going to try, and you're already trying to now stop gay couples from adopting the children that you don't want. And stopping the trans parents from having children that they want to take care of, and you want to, like, go and kidnap the children, but you can't even take care of your own children.
Well, and more so the magical thinking that says we're just not going to talk about it, i.e., don't say gay.
Right.
And somehow we're going to create a generation that what? Like, lead it to its obvious conclusion. We're going to create a generation that what? Is going to have to go out here and figure all this out for themselves with no assistance, with no clue, with no language,
right,
to even begin. Because it's impossible to believe that you're just going to stop having gay and trans kids. Like, I'm sorry, hello, heterosexual parents, quit having gay babies.
Yes.
You keep doing it.
We've got to raise. And
like, you keep doing it.
You know, I am so tired of having the prep conversation, of having the, you know, you got to get your test done conversation. You know, when's your birthday? No, your other birthday. Like, these are, like, I did not go to school as an educator. I teach classes. I've learned, you know, to be a facilitator. I did not go to school to teach sexual health. I did not go to school to discuss, you know, the multi-layers of bi-ness that's out there. I did not go to school to just, you know, these are things that they don't cover in divinity school. So why does the church have a say in this? First of all, if it's not taught in divinity school, there's a problem. You know, stick to your lane. And the other part of this, and the part that bugs me almost even more so, is the layers, and I do mean layers, of misinformation. Do you know how many people in the state of West Virginia purposely hunt out and drive over railroad tracks so they'll have boys?
What?
Yes.
What?
You need me to repeat it again?
I'm just going, that's a thing?
Yes, that's a thing.
Oh, my God. All right. But no, here's my whole thing. It's not like we haven't done this before. Okay? We're uniquely positioned as one of the last generations that went through a cultural fight from hell.
Right.
That did not acknowledge, like, we got sexual health education that glossed at best, if not outright denied anything but, you know, heterosexuality. Taught us nothing about gay relationships, about gay history, or next to nothing.
Right.
And I've been through this in college as a peer health educator, and basically what I was doing, and having to explain the most simplistic things in the world to adults.
Yeah, the favorite one for me is if you needed a special bed.
Oh my God. Well, that was a question from a friend, and that was a moment. Let me
that
tell
just
you,
does my little insanity heart good.
Yeah, I literally got asked how we did it.
Not me. He was too cheap to
Yeah, this
do
is
it with me.
well before,
Yeah.
but in a generality of how do gays do it, and I was confused, and I'm like, can you clarify that? Can you give me a little more to work with? And she point blank asked, like, do you need a special bed? Like, like nothing could she figure out of how this worked. And I'm like, oh, take the wheel, take the wheel, take the wheel. I got to get through this conversation without being hateful. All right, let's start at the beginning. And the first words that popped out of my mouth, welcome to my mouth, to my life. I said, anything you can do, I can do better. Because what else do you say in that situation to just get the point across and save time?
Mm-hmm.
Anything you can do, I can do better.
All right.
Thank you, Ethel Merman.
And it's like, it's scary. And I do mean scary. That, some of the conversations that I've got stored in my head, I've had over the years with these wet behinds, and these people coming out of states that was in situations like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then now we're looking at it and going, oh, we're going to have the size conversation and the, oh God, then we're going to have the condom shopping conversation with all of them.
Again.
Again.
Like, because that's what happened out of the 80s and 90s, and all these kids turned into adults in 2000 or thereabouts, late 90s, early 2000, through a really crappy
Joe. He'll be back. His caffeine must have loaded down. Are you back?
Yes, I think so.
Awesome. The last words we heard was education.
Okay. Through a very crappy education on sexual health and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all of it was garbage.
Yeah.
None of it was truly informative for anyone who was not heterosexual. And even that was mostly a message of don't do it.
Right.
That's it. That was pretty much what most people got at best, was just don't.
Right.
Wait for marriage, you're all these things. But if you want to be a whore, then birth control. That's what we talked about.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about condoms. It really in terms of like a preventative for STDs, even though they were. We talked about them in terms of birth control as a method of birth control. That's it. We didn't. So we immediately said, without saying, to all the gays and lesbians and bisexuals and anyone else, you don't exist.
Yeah.
We didn't explain anything. If you were lucky, you got a small unit on HIV and AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
Which quite frankly, at the time, the messaging was quite dire.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the late 90s for me personally. It was the late 90s in HIV history, which was still a horrific time. Moderately better with medication.
Yeah.
Moderately better. But still, we're talking about HIV and AIDS as a death sentence.
Mm-hmm.
We are still doing horrible things to people who have HIV and AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
And the stigma was rampant.
Mm-hmm.
And you literally had this whole generation that came of age, and I don't know how to describe it except it's like 80s Cold War panic, in which everyone eventually got so exhausted, it was like, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Just do it. Just pull the trigger. Like, we're going to die at some point. Like, we see what's happening here.
Right.
Like, someone's going to get, like, an itch and inadvertently destroy the world.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and do it.
Right.
Like, that's literally where Cold War panic got to. I think with HIV and AIDS, we had an entire generation that got there. Quickly. That was like, I'm going to get it. Like, they skipped past, like, how to prevent it.
Yeah.
And jumped into, I'm not going to live in fear of this. Just go ahead and do it.
Right.
Just knock it out of the way. Just get it over with. And then thankfully, we had better drugs come along.
Mm-hmm.
But I will safely say that for many of those who were in their late teens, early 20s,
mm-hmm.
Who became HIV positive, a lot of that came out of our neglect,
Mm-hmm.
educationally,
Right.
for their sexual health and wellness, and our inability to say gay,
Mm-hmm.
our constant demonization.
Mm-hmm.
That was most of the lesson we got on gay people.
Right.
Was, everything from pissed off preachers
Mm-hmm.
to, news programs that could barely say gay, to all the backlash against gays.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we got was and then we have mainstream representation of gays in film and media, which again was garbage. You were either a tragic story,
Mm-hmm.
or you were comedic relief,
or both.
Yeah, that was that was an unfortunate moment. But no, those were your options. Like, you wanted to see gays on television,
Right.
That's who you're watching, is either a tragic story,
Right.
or comedic relief, or someone who gets unfortunately tasked with being both.
Yeah.
Like, not only are they, at least in terms of storyline, HIV positive and or are dying of AIDS,
Mm-hmm.
but they also have to make everyone feel better by being funny about it.
Exactly.
Like, that was the whole, like, kind of Designing Women take on it. Mm-hmm. Granted, they did a lot of good things in the show around it, but fundamentally that character played the duality.
Right.
Like, not only are you dying as a character, dying of HIV/AIDS, you also have to be the comedic relief and make sure no one feels bad.
Right. Or uncomfortable.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, hi. So, yeah, that's how gays existed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the world we want to go back to? Because that's what a lot of these feel like, is throw it in reverse, go back to the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Actually, they want to go back even farther. Right? 60s.
Well, yeah. Which, talk about a time.
Yeah. When you had shadow bedrooms and you had, speakeasy type situations, and you just moved away from your family and disappeared.
And then you went to New York, got rounded up in a paddy wagon, and
for a free
got for the day that Judy Garland died, because that's what started the Stonewall riots at the end of the 60s, when we were sick of this shit.
Well, I don't think it was. See, I don't agree with that theory.
Okay.
I feel that we got tired of watered down drinks from the mob. And it was like, fuck this shit.
Well, no, it literally was on the eve of Judy Garland's death. It was a horrible, horrible week, and a lot of people were already in a foul mood.
Exactly.
So then, like, one more raid, one more roundup, one more getting thrown in the back of a van,
mm-hmm.
or in the back of a truck. not the week for it. Like
Well, not only
all
that,
weeks.
right, and I agree. But the other side of that, and the side that I really question, is the Judy Garland thing. And this is
Okay.
why. I question it because I think it was more to it. I think that
Okay.
we were just sick and tired of the constant abuse. We were sick and tired of playing the hokey pokey with the cops and the mobsters, and and then paying extra, and I do
Mhm.
mean extra, for everything. And then at the same time, we have a depressed economy, and of course, the gay population, we work more than the straight people do, we pay more taxes, but yet we're getting punished.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that we basically said, fuck you.
Well, and I'm not saying that's not what happened.
Right,
What I'm saying is, I think the death of Judy Garland was the one last thing.
right.
Like, as in, this is the straw.
Hmm.
I'm not saying there wasn't a massive weight on this back,
Right,
and then that,
right.
and it's like, now you want to rate us? Screw it, we're done.
Yeah,
Screw it, we're done. Can you give us one day to mourn?
right. Can you leave us alone for one fucking day?
Right.
You know,
So yeah, I like that's my interpretation and understanding,
right.
is
Yeah.
that it was the one more thing.
Hmm.
Um because Judy Garland did a lot of lovely things for the gays.
Right.
She did. So yeah, the one more thing was too much.
Yeah.
But is that really where we want to go back to? Because that's the world you're trying to create.
Right.
Um and it horrifies me that 23 years of life from the beginning of the 2000s,
Hmm.
um and and I won't say it's been easy. It is, none of it's been easy.
No, it's never.
And there are things I still don't understand and I don't get, and I like, could someone explain it to me like I'm 5, because I don't get it.
Okay.
I don't know why we now have 12 different ways to effectively say bisexual, but I'm whatever, identify, be happy. It means more to you than it ever can to me.
Right.
Um, like, I don't understand, and that's okay.
Hmm.
Is my point. But after all of this, you
Right.
want to move back to, at best, the end of the 90s.
Hmm.
Oh, what a decade that was. To as far back as the 50s and 60s,
Right.
in how we approach gender identity, gender expression.
Right.
Like, really? Like, you think this was better?
Right. Well, what gets me, and this is, I, I'm, how much barbed wire do we need? How much fucking barbed wire do we need? How
Okay.
many quilt patterns do we need? How many quilts do we need? How many bricks do we need? How
Mhm.
many paddy wagons do we need? When is it going to be a fucking enough? After
Yeah.
43 fucking years, when is it going to be fucking enough?
Hmm. Yeah. Like, I don't get it. I mean, how many of these parents,
Right.
grandparents, great grandparents potentially at this point,
Yeah.
who lost friends and siblings and never knew why,
Mm-hmm.
whose friends and siblings disappeared,
Mm-hmm.
cousins disappeared,
Mm-hmm.
never to be seen or heard from again.
Right.
All because they knew they were different and couldn't express it,
Right.
found somewhere where they could find out who they were and what they were and how the world, could be,
Mm-hmm.
and fundamentally had to make a choice: live in a closet
Mm-hmm.
or cut all ties and be myself.
Right.
Like, this is what you want to go back to, these kind of ultimatums,
Right.
because that's the world we lived in.
Right.
And you think that's better because it doesn't offend you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I would be more offended to have people just disappearing out of my life and never know why.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I care about my family? Like, is that the takeaway? Is that really you make this all about the family, but it has nothing to do with family?
Right.
That, like, this is about the children, except for the children that it benefits, in which case you'd rather
Mm-hmm.
not know, not see, not have contact, bury
Right.
these kids. Like, I don't get it. I'm trying to follow it. Like, you went through this.
Yeah.
You went through this. Because this isn't a bunch of 20-year-olds coming up with this shit.
No.
Like, it's not a bunch of 20-year-olds coming up with this shit.
Yeah.
This is a bunch of people who have already lived through. Like, I'm sorry, the 80s were not traumatic enough for you? The 90s weren't traumatic enough for you?
Yeah.
The early 2000s were not traumatic enough for you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you not get tired
Mm-hmm.
of reading obituaries of fucking 20-year-olds?
Right.
25-year-olds? 30-year-olds?
Right.
We decimated an entire generation with bullshit.
Right.
You want to do it again?
Yeah. Well, what gets me and what aggravates me even deeper is I don't know how much land is left on Hope Island.
Okay.
The island for unclaimed bodies
Mm-hmm.
in New York. You know, the one that they sent pictures out from COVID when they were burying bodies because they had no place to store them.
Mm-hmm.
How much land is left there, guys? That's what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Well, and more importantly, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
An entire horrific history of unclaimed bodies.
Mm-hmm.
That's the legacy of HIV and AIDS.
Mm-hmm.
Was an unprecedented number of families who'd wanted nothing to do with their children.
Right.
Their brothers, their sisters, their cousins, their any, like, whatever. They had the gay disease. They died. Forget
Yeah.
about them. Leave them there. Don't claim the bodies. Don't claim the remains.
Yeah.
Don't come back. What?
Yeah.
What?
How many
Again, why?
Right.
Hmm?
How many upstairs lounges do we need
Mm-hmm.
to get movement?
Mm-hmm. Like, again, none of it makes any sense to me.
Right.
Like, explain it to me like I'm 5 because I don't get it.
Right.
I'm never going to get it. Like, I'll save you the time of explaining it to me like I'm 5 because I'm never going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know how anyone gets there and thinks they get it and that this is the right idea.
Right.
I don't process that. It's inconceivable.
Right.
Unless you just hate that much.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. That's the only answer, is you hate that much.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't. And I definitely don't understand how you can claim it under a mantle of God
Mm-hmm.
and religion
Mm-hmm.
and morality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm never going to get it.
Right.
So that's me. That's where I'm at.
Yeah. So let's go into Are You an Asshole?
Alrighty. Let me get over there for that because I apparently managed to minimize. There we go. All right. Am I the asshole for knowingly letting my mom's boyfriend get food poisoning? I, 24 male, am visiting my mom, 54, for a couple of days. Yesterday evening, I was in the kitchen preparing a chicken dish. My mom's boyfriend, 55, came into the kitchen to prepare a salad and asked me if he could use the cutting board. The cutting board and knife were still soaked with chicken juice and had tiny bits of raw chicken on it. So I obviously said no, that he should use the spare one. I was still busy with cooking, but had planned to clean both by hand and then put it in the dishwasher. I'm very cautious about food safety, especially regarding chicken, and I would not have let him use the board even if he cleaned it by hand, since I don't trust contaminated tools if they weren't in the dishwasher. My mom's boyfriend, on the other hand, does not believe in food poisoning. He never had it, so obviously it can't exist. I don't know why he is so unreasonable regarding this topic, since he is not like that with other stuff. He's not anti-vax or anything. It's just food safety he doesn't believe in. He still insisted on using the cutting board and knife. I reminded him of salmonella, to which he just sighed. You and your salmonella. I replied that if he wants to use it, then fine. If he cleans it, it may not be up to my cleaning standards, but I don't have to eat that salad. Well, that man did not intend to clean the cutting board. He wanted to cut the vegetables that he wanted to eat raw on the dirty cutting board with the dirty knife. I immediately told him that he cannot do that, and we had a heated discussion. This was not the first time we had a fight about food safety, and I more than once refused to eat anything he had prepared. In the past, I had grabbed the kitchen utensils out of his hand, ensured that he could not do stupid stuff like that. But this time, I was already exhausted from having such a stupid discussion. I was also caught off guard because he never attempted something so unsafe before. So I thought, fine, if he wants to give himself salmonella so badly, then I will not stop him. I just warned my mom how he prepared said salad, she did not eat it, and let him eat his food hazard. You can probably guess what happened next. It's the next day, and as expected, he is laying in bed, sick. My mom pulled me aside and told me I should have stopped him from preparing the salad on the cutting board, that I knew what would happen and that it was cruel of me to let him eat it. I responded that she knew how he prepared it and could have stopped him from eating it. Her reasoning is that there was already an argument because she refused to eat the salad herself and she did not want to cause another. I do feel bad that he is now sick, but I tried to talk him out of it, and I don't think I should have had to physically stop him from doing something stupid like that. On the other hand, I do feel like an asshole for letting him go through with it. So, am I the asshole?
No, he's an adult. He's an idiot. He clearly made it clear that that was a dirty cutting board. He clearly made it clear that he was using dirty utensils.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing more you could do there.
I have to agree. I'm just sitting here going, but when it comes down to the argument, I have lots of issues with it.
Mm-hmm.
On like one, your mother's expectations are definitely out there. You're supposed to physically stop someone with a knife and a cutting board, and that
Right.
much willful endangerment of self.
Right.
And you expect your daughter to handle this? Like, she's not part of this relationship.
No.
Like, she's, because you had an argument over the fact you wouldn't eat the salad.
Right.
She's supposed, your child is supposed to step in.
Mm-hmm.
And go one step further than
Right.
you're willing to do.
Right.
To prevent this situation. I think mom's feeling really guilty.
Right.
And is trying to find a way to displace that by somehow putting this at you,
Right.
which I think is highly unfair.
Right.
But no, I don't think you're the asshole. But I don't know what the limit really is. When you have another adult And granted, this seems of sound mind and otherwise, a capable adult. We're not talking about an adult with, a problem.
Right.
Like an adult with dementia, a vulnerable adult, basically. Do you just let people do the stupid?
Sometimes you have to let stupid do stupid.
I mean, like if he were holding a broken extension cord and trying to plug it in the wall, do you stop him or let him? Like I'm trying to figure out like what's the like if he's trying to clean a loaded gun, do you stop him or let him?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like where do we draw a line or do we just allow it?
You
And
know
again,
my
I'm
opinion.
assuming fully capable at the time, not drunk, not impaired, not a vulnerable adult in any other sense of the words,
Right.
doing a really stupid.
Right. Well, you know my opinion. I think my ladder has too many stickers on it. My shampoo print is too small.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe I'm in the wrong here, but in my opinion, you make the obvious problem. They choose to not handle the
Make the
problem.
problem obvious.
hmm
Yeah.
what do you do with that?
I can kind of agree as long as you're communicating it to an adult that has the ability to comprehend what you are saying.
Right.
If they choose to move forward,
Yeah. Now, I'd never eat anything he cooked ever.
no,
There's
no,
I have a saying, you can't eat at everyone's house.
no, you really can't.
Right.
Um, I'm just horrified that like how do you not believe in food poisoning?
Right.
Like how do you get like I could understand if you were a teenage kid
hmm
and it's not really a thing.
Right.
Okay, yeah. Like test that assumption at your earliest convenience.
hmm
You know, which fundamentally goes to the same point, like you test that
Right.
assumption at your earliest convenience, I will assure you it's a thing.
Yes.
Um, I just can't imagine even yanking like a knife or tossing a salad, like throwing it out
hmm
that he's made. Like I mean, I think for my own health and safety and personal comfort and convenience, I might accidentally knock over a salad bowl a few times.
All right.
Just on principle.
All right.
Um, but at some point, he's gonna do this. He's
All right.
just gonna do this. How responsible can you be for someone else? Like, it's not that I don't have a mindset that we should reach out and try to protect others from danger,
Right. But there comes a point.
but how far can you go?
Right.
Is she supposed to follow this dude around for the rest of his life, yanking, dirty cutting boards and doing everything she can to prevent him from coming to harm?
Well, I think there's only so much you can prevent someone coming from harm with the level of stupidity here.
I mean, and then this questions whether or not he's going to learn the lesson. Is he going to magically believe
Right.
that it's not food poisoning? Food poisoning still doesn't exist in his worldview,
Right.
and that he just unfortunately got sick.
hmm
Like,
I think
oh,
he needs another dose.
I mean, prayer for judgment on this one. Like, an unfortunate thing because anyone who's had food poisoning be like, God, that's miserable.
Right.
God, that's miserable. And not anything you want to willingly do to someone.
Right.
Which I mean, obviously, she's made it quite clear she did not want this to happen, and even feels bad that it did,
hmm
even though she tried everything reasonable,
Right.
other than yank the utensils out of his hand and be like, no,
Yeah.
like she's not his mother. He's
Right.
not a child.
Right.
I just can't believe people don't believe food poisoning exists. Like, what the hell? Like, that seems so basic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, if we're talking early 1900s, I might could follow that. We had a period in history in which we didn't understand the dangers of the kitchen.
But that's debatable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because there's always been, if you look at, many older models of cooking,
Mm-hmm.
there's always been this: you do not eat raw, you do make sure everything's cooked. And before we even knew what salmonella was, we knew what it did.
Mm-hmm. Well, but I'm talking about post-war era.
Mm-hmm.
When suddenly we had like the average middle class household still had help.
Right,
Like, your average quote unquote suburban equivalent
right,
mother of the era didn't cook, didn't clean, didn't do all this stuff.
right,
Suddenly got thrust into the kitchen,
right.
clueless, and we had massive rashes of horrible food poisoning.
Mm-hmm.
Because it also came on the heels of chicken suddenly being a main staple in the American diet
Right,
or in the post-war diet.
right.
Because chicken was cheap. Um, I, we went through a period in the early 1900s in which we had to talk a lot about food safety
Right.
to get this into the consciousness of the general world.
Mm-hmm.
That like, no, no.
Right. Well, but here's the thing of this. This
Mhm.
is where we see a cap of bleach for chicken. Yes, people still do it. Washing your chicken,
Oh, please don't bleach your chicken. Please don't bleach your chicken.
especially if you're cooking it for Aeson. Since I'm
Uh,
allergic to bleach.
well, yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
I will say my grandmother was one of those Kappa bleach people.
Mm-hmm.
I I have so many issues with chicken because of that.
Right.
Like I have a hard time separating the fact that I like chicken
Mm-hmm.
from all the horrible chicken I had.
Right.
Because I didn't know better.
Right.
Like I went through that weird period where like it was food on the table and you're supposed to eat it. Um, and I didn't realize what she was doing for the longest time.
Right.
And like, no, another form of food, unhealthy, unsafety.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do the bleach of the cap full of bleach with your chicken.
Right.
Don't do bleach in chicken. Period. Don't do bleach in food. Period.
Right. But
Um,
and also overcooking meat and boiling meat. Let's not. If you're baking it, do not boil it.
okay.
There are people that boil pork chops till they're dead and then bake them.
So basically, there nothing could be left.
Right.
Yeah. And sometimes that's the extent of over safety and over precaution.
Right.
Like you can ruin your food by overcooking it.
Right.
Like, I mean, you do have to strike a balance between
Right.
being too safety conscious
Right.
and being, legitimately safety conscious.
Right. Now, I have a bigger problem here with this whole thing. What the
Mhm.
hell is he doing in her kitchen? Girl, you had a knife. Just pointing it should have made him go away.
Okay, well, some households don't choose violence first thing in the day.
We are discussing choosing violence first thing of the day, especially after this morning.
What?
This morning, dear.
I'm a saint. I did nothing wrong.
I know you've done nothing wrong. You are somewhat a saint.
I know. Everyone that knows you tells me.
Uh-huh, I know. However, tell them what occurred this morning.
Oh my God, yesterday was such a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Fundamentally, long story short, we never made it in time to go to the store
Mm-hmm.
to get coffee.
Right.
So Aeson had to start his morning because I was still struggling to get up this morning. Like I didn't make it out of bed till he got back.
Mm-hmm.
But he had to go out this morning to buy coffee before he had coffee. Apparently, someone did almost legitimately die.
Yes.
Like, which is scary.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've kind of joked about that before, as without coffee in the morning, someone could die. I now feel bad about all the times we've joked about that because it literally almost did happen this morning. Granted, a little bit their own fault. They were literally standing in the road.
Yes.
And so you turned onto said road,
Mm-hmm.
and the point that they were standing
Mm-hmm.
was not convenient for traffic at all.
No.
They weren't visible before.
Right.
And yeah, so like, why were they just standing? Like, do we have any clue? Like,
We
were
don't
they
have
walking a dog and waiting for a dog to
No,
pee
they
or
were just
something?
they were one of the transients that has infested my neighborhood because
A
having foot.
neighborhood without sidewalks that was never supposed to have foot traffic,
Yes.
nor was it ever supposed to be this traffic congested.
Right.
Just
No.
saying.
Yeah.
Like, we did not plan for pedestrians
Yes.
anywhere or anyhow
Mm-hmm.
in this setup.
Right.
So yes, that almost had a horrible outcome this morning,
Right.
which really has nothing to do with him not having coffee and everything to do with where the pedestrian decided to stand. It was just an unfortunate part of, we keep joking
Mm-hmm.
about, like, Aeson without coffee could kill someone.
Well, there was a few people that could have died today. Luckily, I had a tongue ring, especially when I walk into the grocery store and there's someone that obviously has had too much fucking coffee.
And they're
7
funny.
in the morning. Hi, how are you? Ready to kill you. Shut up. Show me where the coffee is.
Point me to the coffee and no one gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, that's a dangerous combo.
Yes. All right, so let's move over to poly advice. And this was a little hard, so take the last link because it's the only one still up.
Oh. Okay. That's the one I just pulled up. So, all right. So, parallel poly trouble. Primary partner doesn't want me in Metamore's network. My primary partner, whom I live with, and I have been together for about 6 years and opened our relationship about a year and a half ago. In the last half year, she's begun a relationship with a new partner that is getting serious steady. I'm struggling with feeling that she is treating me unfairly in her attempts to isolate me from my Metamore, his networks, and by extension, a large portion of her life. There are two related concerns. One, she doesn't want me to meet my Metamore. I've expressed to her that I would like to, but she doesn't want it to happen because she thinks it could be too emotionally complicated for all parties involved. She is hesitant to even ask him if he would like to meet me because she thinks it might be hard for him to navigate thinking through. He does know I exist, for what it's worth. I've gotten to the point where when there are gatherings that it makes sense for both of us to be at, anything from birthday parties to public dance parties, she thinks about if there are ways to limit overlapping. I do not think I'm entitled to meet him, but it would make me more comfortable if I could, both because I prefer kitchen table dynamics and because not meeting is creating more awkwardness and logistical problems. Two, what's more painful for me is that she doesn't want me to be friends with my Metamore's friends. The reason this comes up is that even though I don't know my Metamore, there are limited degrees of separation between our social circles. At some social gatherings, I've met people that I would like to be friends with, but who are friends with my metamor. My partner has told me she is not okay with me being close with anyone that is a good friend of my metamor because she is concerned it will compromise my metamor's ability to have confidants, feel disentangled from someone else my partner is involved with, me. Again, this has gotten to an extreme point where she's told me to unfollow certain people on social media and tried to get me to decline invitations that are extended to me by them to hang out. I've struggled to make friends in recent years, so this cuts deep. As my partner spends more and more time with her new partner and his networks, I'm less and less involved in her life. I'm also feeling more and more isolated generally. It hurts, and I've expressed this to her, but her perspective is not changing. She never billed herself as practicing parallel polyamory, but in practice, it feels like a very hardline form of it. It also feels like she ventriloquizes my metamor's implied needs a lot and protects him at the expense of the feelings I am actually voicing to her. The situation is untenable for me, and I'm not sure what to do. I guess a basic thing I'm wondering is, are both my partner and I being reasonable in our perspectives, and there's just a fundamental incompatibility, or is the way she's handling things problematic? What advice do people have? Epilogue. This post is actually a synthesis of things I wish I had asked over the last year. The primary partnership I reference has ended since the time I was grappling with these questions, and some of the things I've discussed had further developments, but I'm interested in how people respond to the above as I am committed to growth and others may benefit. Oh, that's a take a deep breath and just, oh my God.
It is untenable. In multiple layers, it complicates so many things. Um, and that's a problem.
I think it almost sums up as your primary partner is someone else's primary partner, and their hierarchical polyamory is some bullshit.
Well, not only that, but I truly think that they're hiding their primary. Like,
Okay.
that's the only thing that makes logical sense to my brain as I've looked at this and looked at this. And yeah, I didn't look too deep at this because I only have so much time to get annoyed.
Well, yeah, hiding him, protecting him, like keeping him like mystery man in the closet,
Right.
like, and then going one step further and like you can't know anyone he knows.
Yeah, that's a little insane.
Oh my God, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of a lot.
Yeah. And I think it's untenable. I think it's unrealistic. I think it's unfocusable. And does that mean that you need to know everything? And,
Yeah.
the metamorphs need to go out to lunch on Tuesdays? Probably not. Not necessary.
But generally, we've always advocated for the idea that, like, at least a basic,
Yeah.
not really friendship, but fundamentally,
Yeah.
the ability to be, civil and aware,
Right.
while, potentially having the opportunity to work through logistics
Right.
of like, hi, our partner in common is having a birthday on Friday.
Right.
How do we want to handle that? Do you want to take them out for lunch and I take them out for dinner? Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to have a party?
Yeah. Well, the other part here is the friends of the friends of the friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I am thinking in my head.
Oh, if you did this to a gay man, it would have been over in like 5 seconds. Do you know how small those communities are?
Well, not only that, but I'm thinking about us.
Mm-hmm.
Within a month of us dating, we played the 6 degrees of bacon.
There is no 6 degrees of separation between any gay man. Like, we joke about how getting pissed off at straight people who go, you probably know my gay friend. And it's like, oh, come on.
Right.
Just because I'm gay doesn't mean I know every gay man. And then you start talking about your gay friend, and it's like, I do.
Right.
I know him. Like, I know him.
Right. But the other side of that was we're covering 3 states,
Mm-hmm.
2 cities, well, technically 2 counties in the state of West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
and 1 city in North Carolina, and some connections in Ohio. And it's like, yeah, I know that one. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I know that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not hard. And the poly circles are even sometimes smaller.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna know a lot of people in common. You cannot live in an area without knowing people in common.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then the world works in mysterious ways, is all I can say. For some of the people you end up knowing that you would think
Mm-hmm.
there would be no way you know this person. They live 5 states away.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How?
Well, see, he is the cousin to the guy I hooked up with back in Charleston that is also connected, and he was at the ADA event, and he was also over here, and he's part of the union. So, we met at blah, blah, blah.
Right. And like, it's usually totally separate ways that we know them, but still.
Right. Or, our famous story, one of his boyfriends was one of my weekend hookups, and I'm like, how did you date him?
At gunpoint.
At gunpoint, I could understand.
Like, metaphorically speaking, at gunpoint.
Right.
But yeah, no, like I really had hope that weekend.
Uh-huh.
I wanted out of that relationship so bad.
Uh-huh.
That when he said, oh, I've met someone and I'm gonna go up and see him, are you okay with that? I was like, yes, please.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could not have encouraged that more if I tried, because I was hoping at that point, like, go find someone else to be interested in.
Yeah.
Like, please just go find someone else to be interested in and just forget about me, was my hope for that weekend.
Yeah. Sorry.
Not what happened.
No. You got returned to sender.
Yes. Yeah, he came back.
Yeah.
Like a bad penny. Yeah. Repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, and that was, and like I did not even care to hear details. I did not even care to know anything. I was just hopeful.
Right.
So I asked nothing. Knew nothing.
Right.
And honestly, we may have never figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
But I happened to bring up like how much I wanted out of this relationship. It was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
Because, at one point he was talking about this guy that he had met and he was going to go with for the weekend. Was I okay with that? And I'm like, yes, please go.
Mm-hmm.
Gladly go, please. Don't go back. And started describing him, and you had that moment where it was like, hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
But there was a few of them through our history, and it's like, don't even bother. Like, I know the problems with that model too.
Well, yeah, and several of my exes you knew.
Yeah.
Not that surprised me, because I like my exes were trippy. But there were several that like, yeah. And then many friends that I had,
right,
because they like, you worked in bars,
right?
I did not go to bars.
Problem one, could have saved me a lot of money.
I had friends, however, that went to bars.
Right.
Like Friday, Saturday nights. This is what they did. They had a great time. They usually called me or my friend Misty to come pick them up.
Right.
Oh, we spend a lot of time on Friday and Saturday nights picking people up
I spent a
from
lot
any
of time
number of
throwing them out.
situations. Hmm?
I spent a lot of time throwing them out.
You know, so it got interesting when we I started mentioning friends, and I would eventually get to a point I said just enough
Uh-huh.
that you'd be like, oh, I remember him from the bar. Oh God.
Yeah.
Is there anyone I know you don't know?
Well, you.
Exactly. Like that's how it worked out. Like the degree of separation though was thin.
Yes. All right.
Um,
The poll is ended.
mhm.
And my advice is if you're in a hinge, you at least need to know their phone number and their birth date, or you're rude. Point blank.
Okay.
All right. So the poll is ended. No, you are not an asshole. He insisted on having the cutting board and the knife. He deserves food poisoning twice. Make him eat the leftovers.
Ooh. All right. So Brenda also says, Aeson to the judge. I was out of coffee and I was trying to buy some. Oh, as well as only time I've asked is when I thought a gay friend might like them. So it's like, do you know X person? He's and then start talking them up. No, that's fair. That's fine. I'm good with that. But sometimes there's just that assumptive that like, oh my God, you're two gay people. You have to know each other. Like there's a fucking phone tree.
Well, there used to be. It's now called Grindr.
Well, yeah, basically. Of course, then again, I wonder, Brenda, I'll give you an opportunity real quick to respond on this one. So how often does it happen that you start that sentence and it's like, yep, I know them and no.
Yeah.
Because I have had that happen where people try to set me up with someone and I'm like, been there,
Right.
not going back.
Yeah.
I like either I know them socially or from in some other way. Use your imagination, people. Use your imagination. But I already know them. I've already met them. I know them socially. They're a friend of a friend. Somehow I already know them. And like, more often than not, is Brenda's reply.
Yeah. All right, darling, if you will take over.
All righty, so let me get over there real quick. And so, of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Tracy Van, Caitlin Bell, and Devin. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become a Patreon sponsor and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, which include that class tomorrow, Candle Magic. Guys,
register by 11.
Exactly. Please check us out at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. All right, guys. You have a wonderful evening, and we will see you on Sunday. Bye, y'all.
Bye.